Hello learners, welcome to Trick Science, the show that attempts to put logic and reasoning where it clearly doesn't belong. And speaking of logic, have you ever wondered how the animals in Animal Crossing came about? Or rather, evolved alongside humans into the cuddly anthropomorphic animals we pal around with today? Unless they're just a giant group of furries living on an island together. But nonetheless, today, my friends, we're going to get to the bottom of how the characters in Animal Crossing actually came to be. As you know, humans are pretty darn unique, everything from our limbs to our speech to our height and intelligence. But in this game, the evolved animals have all this too. I say evolved animals because for some strange reason, only certain animals evolved or otherwise came about into being humanoid type creatures, while others in the game simply didn't. This is made readily apparent by the fact that we see non-human like frogs, birds, owls, and fish everywhere in the game. Heck, we even see a hamster person who owns a hamster. It's important to note what evolution even is. Evolution is the process by which life continually changes and adapts to better survive in whatever particular environment it finds itself in, with animals that have better traits being selected to survive, mate, and thus pass on their genes. This is known as natural selection. To answer the question of how the likes of Isabelle and Tom Nook evolved into real-life furries, let's first start our search within the evolution of ourselves. The evolution of the modern human is thought to have taken over 6 million years, with our bipedalism, being able to walk on two legs, evolving over 4 million years ago, while other human-defining characteristics such as our complex brains, the making and use of tools, the capacity for language, and human expression or art emerging within the past 100,000 years. Us humans, being primates that are closely related to apes, spent much of our evolution period in Africa, where we split off from the rest of our primate relatives via a common ancestor about 6 to 8 million years ago, before we moved outwards to other continents. Many of the early human species, ranging from about 15 to 20 species, died out. So take heed, you are the product of a long line of evolutionary dominators, who, due to using their brains and communication, were able to better survive and evolve into who we are today. You are very special. So what about the animals? What specific places or place did they originally come from that caused them to evolve beyond their relatives and then be able to spread throughout the world much like humans? This sends us on a very eye-opening journey, my friends, into the selection-heavy history of Animal Crossing. Now, where would these anthropomorphic animals have evolved at? What island or continent would allow them to slowly evolve over millions of years just like humans? Or would this natural selection phenomenon have occurred all over the world instead? I mean, there are 391 accounted animals living on the island, many of them being drastically different species ranging anywhere from overly peppy hamsters to happy hippos. The answer, though, is they probably evolved in a secluded area just like humans. You see, if animals started evolving everywhere around the world due to a selection pressure that favored animals with larger brains that could walk upright on two legs, all other regular animals would have been selected out, rendering them all extinct. But this clearly isn't the case. So instead, we can look for the one place in the world that contains nearly, if not all of the villagers' different types of species. That very special place is none other than Africa. You see, Africa, with its large variety of landscapes and environments, has everything from squirrels to mice, frogs, hippos, alligators, gorillas, anteaters, eagles, and hamsters. In the world of Animal Crossing, these many species evolved alongside humans in Africa, and thus were subject to the same nuanced selection pressures that humans were, eventually leading them to developing the same traits of bipedal movement, complex speech, and being able to make tools. This could explain why humans and animals get along so well. Their species have been interacting with each other for millions of years, so talking to a bipedal tiger or elephant wearing clothes is just another day. But don't just take it from me, this is all supported by, you guessed it, the museum. You see, in Animal Crossing New Horizons, as many of you may have done, you can unlock Blather's Museum, and Blather allows you to donate any bugs, fish, and fossils that you find. Upon completing the museum's fossil collection, you can take a merry stroll through it, starting at what is a single cell that branches off into other increasingly complex organisms. And as you continue to follow the branching lines from room to room, you'll discover a room full of skeletons of many different extinct animals, eventually ending up in a room containing several skeletons, among these being a mammoth, a saber-toothed tiger, and a prehistoric rhino, with the many connecting lines all leading from a skeleton to a silhouette of each of the now wise animal species, showing us that these animals did at some point evolve from a related species that has been extinct anywhere from 10,000 to 35 million years ago. Interestingly enough, when walking down the row of the many silhouettes, you'll notice that one's missing right above the skull of an australopith, a precursor to modern humans. As you stand in the missing spot, a light turns on, showing that you, the player, are the last piece of the museum. But really what this all means is that they are animals. Animals that, exactly like humans, came from a now extinct ancestor species, where they too gain the ability to talk, walk on two legs, and build things. So the next time that you go to buy your next party popper or slingshot at the Nook's Cranny, take a good look at the smiling faces of those other animals. You've been with them for millions of years. Anyways, that's just some lovely science. Trick science! See you learners on the flip side!